Hello again, it's Rick from e24land.com here to give a video overview of our 5.133 acre property in southern Colorado, Costilla County, Fort Garland area. It's a beautiful lot in the foothills of the Sangre Cristo mountain range. It's got pinyon pines, it's got some of the taller ponderosa pines. And what's nice about this lot is it's real close to Highway 160, so it's up in the northern part of the development, which means that it's actually closer to those of you coming from Denver or Colorado Springs or Pueblo area, right? So it's got some nice camping spots. It's got a little bit of a slope to it, and I'll drill down into this here in a minute, but if you can brave it to climb to the top of this hill, there's a nice camping spot up there, and you would have a outstanding view of Mount Blanca and would be able to see for miles. So in this video we're going to show some high-level satellite images of the area so that you can get some bearings. I'll show some Google Maps to the highway or how to get to town, and then I do have a couple of real pictures from the property. I don't have any video or drone footage of the property in this one, so please remember to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for future videos and to stay current with our available properties. In case you haven't seen it, there's another video out there that we made called Where is Fort Garland, or Where is Costilla County. It's got some helpful information about the general area, broader geographic context, and I'll put a link to that down in the description below. So let me zoom out a little bit just so we can get our bearings real quick. Right, so down here in the middle, there's Fort Garland. Up here you've got Denver. So straight down Highway 25 from Denver is about 3 hours to Fort Garland. Colorado Springs 2 hours, Pueblo an hour and a half, and then once you get down into here you cross over Levada Pass, you're just about 20 minutes away. For those of you from the south, you're going to generally be coming up through Taos. Taos will either go into San Luis or Fort Garland, about an hour from there. So this area, more specifically, right, this area, the San Luis Valley, right, you see the properties up here in the top. So I'll start off by mentioning Fort Garland and San Luis, right? So these, if you're traveling around in the area, you're generally going to go through one of these two touch points. If you're staying in the area for the night or for the week, you're generally going to spend some time over here in Alamosa. Lots of hotels, lots of restaurants, plenty of things to do, shopping, etc. There's some other places clearly in the area to camp, but as we talk about timing, right, to get into Fort Garland, and then usually you could have 15 to 45 minutes driving into the development, into the mountain range, depending on where the property is. So just kind of use that as an anchor point. In the area, you got Highway 160 that runs east-west from Levada Pass over out to Alamosa, and then running north-south you have Highway 159 that kind of parallels the Sangre de Cristos, and then as you cross over into New Mexico, it turns into New Mexico 522. So when you're coming from the north or south, either San Luis and Fort Garland are about 15 minutes apart, so just keep that in mind. And there is generally, lots of exits to get off into the development. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about elevation. You know what? Let me flip over, and I'm going to go to So just from a timing perspective, you got to the property here. It's about 15 minutes into Fort Garland. Alamosa's another 15 or 25 minutes to the west of that. But the centerpiece to the whole area, right? Mount Blanca, Mount Lindsay. So this is all the snow-covered peaks that you'll see in all the pictures. You're going to be pretty close to it and have a good view. A little north of there is the Great Sand Dunes National Park, right? Plenty to do up there. I'll talk about that here in just a second. But from a mileage perspective, the other thing that's great about this property is you could shave some time off, right? If you were coming in from the north, right, you can actually get off up here and then travel into the property. Makes it easier to do that. In the area, you also have, for you fishers and hunters, right, you get two main reservoirs up here in the north. Mountain Home is about 130 acres. I saw something on a government website. I think it might have been Department of Natural Resources or somebody said that this was 1,061 acres. I don't know if that means the whole development. It certainly is not the lake. That's 130 acres, maybe 101.6 if they got the decimal point wrong. Because over here, this is the Smith Reservoir, which is 278 acres. So for those of you that are traveling the area, right, some camping and things like that, Mountain Home, let me see if I got a picture. Mountain Home Reservoir, right, has a nice beach, camping area. It's got some good fishing and some, I think, no wake boats can be put in there compared to Smith Reservoir, right, is closer to Mount Blanca, and it's got this grass and stuff in there. So I'm pretty sure that you can do waterfowl, duck, and that sort of hunting in that area. But it's also real good for pike and northern pike and crappie and trout. Both of them are stocked with trout. Let's see, Great Sand Dunes, pretty cool area. I'll talk some more about that in a minute, but let's go back to that. So that'll give you an idea of where we are. I'm going to zoom into the property now and talk a little bit more about that. All right, so zooming in, and let's see if I got a couple of things on the property, right? So it's got a good mixture of these sort of short, scrubby looking, I shouldn't say scrubby looking, that's not so these shorter, bushy looking ones are pinyon pines, right? They're generally 8 to 12, 15 foot tall. They can get as tall as about 30 foot. So lots of those are typical in the lower elevations. Over here in the flats, you don't get a whole lot of trees, right? So you're going to have sagebrush and grasses and stuff over here in the flats. But as you start to get higher up in elevation and into the Sangre to Cristo range, you start to see more and more trees as you go higher up, compared to also in this property, right? So you got a good mixture of the pinyon pines, but you also start to get these taller ones. And at one time, I thought that these were ponderosa pines, but just I don't have a clear image of what the leaves and the bark look like. So they could be a type of spruce or Douglas fir or something else. So there's a couple of trees that all range that grow in the area, and these can get to be 80 to 120, 130 feet. So it depends on what they are. They all look about the same. But this is what the property looks like. So be some nice spots for camping, and then if you have if you have the ability, you want to climb up to the top of this hill. Up on top of the hill will be a dramatic, a beautiful view over the valley, and then you'll have an awesome view of Mount Blanca. So let me just zoom in a little bit. Let's go back to our as we're kind of looking at this one. So we're going to range from about 8,400 8,400 and up to about 8,650 feet. So there's about a 200-foot change in elevation here, and I'll show you that here in a second. But from, let me zoom out. I don't think from the ground level here, from the road level, that you're going to be able to see Mount Blanca. But if you were to climb up the hill, there's going to be so the property actually crests over the top of the hill, right? So if you got up here, that would be a pretty cool camping spot, and you should be able to see Mount Blanca from that location. So kind of taking a look at this property. Also from there you'd have a great view overlooking the valley, right? So you're going to get sunsets off to the west. And then back behind or overlooking, there's some more of the Sangre de Cristo mountain range. Oh, there is Mount Mestis, I think. I used to call it Mule Shoe, but I think it's Mount Mestis. That's pretty cool. All right, down here at the road level, let's just kind of drill in and take a closer look at what that looks like. All right, so I think I think the pictures were taken here, and they show that this is a little steep drop off. But I think over here towards the edge of the property, that if you wanted to, you ought to be able to drive down through there and either camp down in this area or park down in this area. In the springtime, there's probably some melt or runoff that comes down through here. But in summertime, if you wanted to go out and go camping, I think I'd probably even pull off the road, and I'd be right here. I'd pull off the road and park right there, and then you could hike up and find a couple of camping spots. If you wanted to camp down here near the road, right, you could. I'd park there. You camp down here, maybe camp over here. But if you're going to make the trip, I would try to find. Zooming all over the place. I'd find a way to just climb up to here. It's about 200 feet. Yeah, change in elevation. And see if you can find a nice camping spot here, so that you'd have a overlooking view of the valley. So I think that's about it, right? If from a reachability perspective, this property is going to be pretty good, because at 8,500 foot of elevation, it should be reachable year-round. Generally, zoom out a little bit. Generally, flip it back around. There's facing north, Mount Blanca. So the San Luis Valley, right, is these over here we call the flats or the valley floor, right? So what you have is water, snow melt running off from the Sangre de Cristos, and it travels over here, and then over here is the Rio Grande River, right? So it's higher in the mountains, and it gets lower and lower and lower over to the river. So this area over here is generally around 7,500 foot of elevation, and then as you get closer to Highway 159 and the base of the Sangre de Cristos, this is about 7,900 foot of elevation, right? So pretty mild. Most of this is flat. And then as you get into the foothills, generally we think 8,000 to 9,000 foot of elevation, right? You start to see a little bit more gradual slope, a little bit of texture in the land, right? And same goes for here, which means this in the foothills is still reachable year-round, right? So at 8,500 foot, not too bad to travel up 160 and then get into here. You don't see any dramatic slopes that would make this property unreachable in the wintertime. As you get deeper into the mountains, once you get above 9,500 feet of elevation, and some of the properties in Sangre de Cristo are upwards of 12,000. Most of them 10,000, 10,500. It's pretty rare to see something up over 11,000, but a couple of them do exist. Those are maybe what we would call more seasonal properties, right? From about January until April. There's going to be more snow up there. The roads are a little bit more steep, so they may not be reachable until after April the 1st. So, but on the side note, for you hunters, that's where the big game hangs out, right? So if you go out there in September, October, November looking for some big game, that's where they're hanging out anyway. So what else do I got? I think that's about it. So thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel. Got more videos coming soon. Okay, thanks.